Hi, I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and today we're going to talk about how you can quilt your quilts with ease from your own home with your own machine. So, I want to welcome you to meet the Cutie. This is an awesome frame that works with any household sewing machine. I can't imagine what it wouldn't work with, but I'll say just about any household sewing machine. The sewing machine simply is placed on a platform, and then you can drive it with handlebars, and the frame is going to support your quilt and your work, so that way you can easily get just the stitching that you want. So I'm going to show you how it works. We're going to talk about how the frame works. We're going to talk about the frame. We're going to talk about setup, and if you have any questions, please type those in the chat box, and then we will answer your questions. So the machine is already on the platform, and this particular machine can run without a foot control. There's an on-off button. If you have a machine that works with a foot control, you can just put it down on the floor and you can just step on it like normal, and you can even sit in a chair to drive your machine if that's more comfortable for you. So whatever works. In fact, for me, that might be what I would choose to do with this particular setup, because I can't see my work as far here, so I would get one of the chairs so my eyes would be closer to the fabric. So just feel free to do that as well. So this machine is already set up, it's plugged in, it's ready to go. And on this particular machine, this is the Bernina 580, the B5, I'm sorry, 590, and it does have what is called the BSR, which is the Bernina Stitch Regulator. So this machine has a stitch regulator, so I'm going to get regulated stitches with it. If you have a different machine, there are stitch regulators for just about every machine that companion with the Cutie. It's not like this one, but it will companion with the Cutie, so you too can have stitch regulation. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine on, and then as it goes, all we need to do is drive our pattern. So if I want to do ruler work, I can do ruler work. You can do straight lines if you want to follow the pattern. If you want to do stippling, you can do stippling. Whatever style of quilting you want to do, you can do. You just have to know where your on-off button is. That's helpful. Okay. So does that make sense? All you're going to do is drive it from the front. So very, very easy. And like I said, if you're sitting down, it's really simple. So are you ready do you want to see more of that? Or do you want to see how the frame goes, how the fabric goes on the frame?
So we had someone come in a little late, and they were just curious as to what machine you're talking about today.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, not talking about a machine at all. We're talking about the Cutie, which is this framing system that is going to allow you to use your machine that you have at home to do your quilting. So what this does is it has a system that supports and keeps the fabric flat, so that way you can quilt all the way from one side to another. Now you could be working on maybe a scarf. Maybe you're making an artful scarf with ribbon and wash away stabilizer. You can do that on this. Maybe you want to do placemats. That's fine. Maybe you want to do a king size quilt. It all works. And the frame itself will help control your fabric, keep the fabric area flat. Then you can use your sewing machine to do your quilting. Is there another question?
Yeah, Jackie said that she would actually like to see how it goes onto the frame.
Well, Jackie, let's do that, shall we? So this machine, like I mentioned, since we did have a couple that came in a little bit later, this is the Bernina B590. That's just what's on it right now. You could have a Juki, you can have an Elna, you can have a Baby Lock, you can have a Brother, whatever your machine is. So don't think it's just for Bernina. It's not. It's for whatever machine. So let's look at the setup of the frame. So I'm going to have you come over this way, and I'm going to take it apart, but I want you to kind of see it in its setup thing. So I'm going to have you go where I was. So if you can see, the machine is, let me raise my needle there. The machine is on a platform that moves this way. This platform is on a rail that goes this way. That's how you get the really smooth movement of the machine while you're sewing. Okay, so now let's start with the frame, and I'm going to show you how the machine goes on and everything like that. This is obviously not a lesson, but hey, it's information, right? So I have the bulk of my piece gathered up here, just rolled up, and then there's little bungees with hooks that hold it on to this clamp. And so I'm going to undo that so you see that. Oh, before we get too far, that platform that the machine is set on, in the front, that's where these handlebars are attached to that carriage. So that way we can move the machine however we want to sew. Okay? So let me undo these bungees, and I will go ahead and undo the back bungees as well. So we have our item here, and if you can see, our quilt was just draped over this frame. Okay, so there's no complicated anything. You just simply drape what you're working on right over the frame, and then these little clamps just hold it right in place. See how simple that is? So if I wanted to put it back in, I would just put it back on. I mean, it's not hard. So when you're done sewing a section, you have no more quilting to do in that section, you simply unclamp it like I'm doing now, and then you shift the fabric to a new location, to where you haven't stitched yet. Okay? And then you move on. Okay, so get these off. Now the frame is pretty sturdy, but it is not, I was wondering there's two of these, I was wondering where it went. It was underneath this one. You don't pile them up like that. You have one for each side. Isn't that funny? Any questions while we're going on our way?
Yeah, can you use your Bernina's BSR with this?
Absolutely. In fact, the BSR is installed on this one. And for those of you who don't know what a BSR, that stands for Bernina Stitch Regulator. And what it does is it communicates with the machine because it plugs right in. It goes on like as a foot, plugs in, and then it can sense how fast you're moving the machine, so it can go slow, or it'll stitch slower or faster depending on how quickly you move the fabric. If you do not have a Bernina and you don't have a stitch regulator, that's okay, because there are several, just about every machine, newer machine, as in the last 15 years, I would say, there is probably a stitch regulator from the company Grace that makes the Cutie that is companion to the frame, so you can add stitch regulation even if you don't have a Bernina. Okay, so if you wanted to shift your fabric to a new location, you would just do so. Okay, but I'm going to pull it off, and I still have it tethered because I haven't trimmed my threads. Okay, so let me just pull this off so you can get a look. My sweater's caught on the frame. So you can get a good look at how the frame works. I don't know where to put this because I'm going to need it in a second, aren't I? Okay, so here's the frame in and of itself. And the machine is set right on top of that frame. So when you want to take the frame off, I'm going to take the BSR off the machine because I don't want to damage that. When I'm putting it on and off, I don't want to damage it. I'm going to put it in my pocket. Remind me it's in my pocket so I don't lose it. Okay, so there are little huggers. I don't know what you call them, but these are a clamp type of an item that is on the sides that hold your machine so it doesn't wobble left to right as you sew. And so these unclip, loosen up, and then all we need to do is take, I think I'm going to take the needle off. That would be a good idea. Take the needle out. Okay. All right, so now we're going to be able to just simply lift the machine up off here, and then we can go sew with it. And when you're ready to do your quilting, all you have to do is set it right back on there, tighten the clamps, and you're ready to go. Now, the frame itself is really, really easy to use. Carrie, can you see either the numbers right here, or you can see the numbers right here? This is so you can adjust the depth. So depending on, which one can you see better? This one probably?
Probably that one, yeah.
Okay, so depending on your machine, if you have a longer throated machine, then you can extend this so this is further away so you have more work area. Now back up, Carrie, I'm going to send you all over the place. Here, you have height adjustments. So depending on your machine again, if you need it, if it has a higher bed than others, you can raise that up and customize it without any tools. You can customize it to fit your machine. Then when you're ready and you're not sewing anymore, you're not doing any more quilting, and you don't want to look at this, all you have to do is take this up. Whoops, I guess you should tighten those before you do this. But this can be stored wherever you want to put it. The whole unit can fit under your bed, right? So I'm going to take this piece off because it just rests right up on that. Just right on that bed. Then this piece, you can take the pulls off if you like. There we go. But you don't have to, because this whole piece, see how it lifts up off the table? You can just store this under your guest bed or your bed or in a closet, whatever you want to do. And you notice we don't even have it on anything fancy. This is just a simple 4-foot folding table that you can get anywhere. Well, Costco probably, and maybe some other places. But you can put this on your kitchen table. You can put it on, whatever. If you have a big coffee table, it might even fit on your coffee table. So wherever you want to do your work, you can do that. If you want to set it up on your cutting table, because you want to do it in your sewing room, then do that, and then just take it down when you want to store it. And then when you're ready to put it back together, all you have to do is set this on, and this even says front and back, so we can make sure we're putting it on the correct way. Just want the little wheels to go on the track. And don't wear a cardigan sweater when you're doing that, because apparently I keep getting hung up on everything. And then we're going to put this right back where it was. And just set this right onto the platform. And it's ready to roll, literally. And let me get the clamps up off the floor so I don't ruin those, right? And I've got the bobbin winder going. And I'm just going to slide these in. In fact, they're going to come, not when you get them out of the box, you're going to do this yourself, so it's really easy. They just kind of like just put the peg in the hole and off you go. And then you're just simply going to place your machine onto the carriage, slide these in so they fit, push down the little handles. I'm going to cross in front of you again to the other side. And then we'll get this tightened up. And now you're ready to quilt. It's that easy. So now all we need to do is put our quilt over the top. And this is actually something to know, is this is a clamp system. It's kind of like a big embroidery hoop. It isn't as much like a long arm quilt frame where you roll the top and the backing and then you put your batting in. So you're going to have your pieces secured together however you like to baste them. I like to use Free Fuse from Quilter Select. It's just a powder and you just iron it and it's ready to go. This one has safety pins in it, which you can do too. I don't like to do that because I tend to not see them and I'll run over them. But you can do that, or you can just machine baste, and that's okay too. So all you're going to do is place this over the frame and clamp it into place. I do like to do my back clamps first because that just helps me. And that's these little guys that say Grace on them. Grace Cutie. So just get it smooth. And you don't have to worry if it's horribly straight or not, because you're in control of the quilting up front. So if it's not completely smooth, that's okay. There's one more.
So Reva, what size quilts can you do with this?
Okay, so I have done art things like I've done a scarf. I put down wash away stabilizer on the frame, and then I laid ribbon out. So I did a scarf. You can do placemats, table runners. You can do queen, king. You can do any size, because all you do is set the clamps, set the project onto here, clamp it into place, and then all you need to do is just lightly roll this up and get that controlled so it's out of the way of, we don't want it to get run over and get stitched. So we just have these little clamps that do this, and we're ready to rock and roll. So you can do any size project from very small all the way up to king size. And I want to mention the small projects because a lot of people like to do thread painting and do art pieces, and they don't really want a big, huge long arm to do that, which of course you could if you wanted to, but this is a perfect way to have your fabric smooth and laid out so you can lay out your little cutouts and your appliques and little things if you want to do art quilting. So it's really fun. So don't discount the Cutie just for quilting. It does far more than that.
So someone else was asking if this would work with their FOF, and they're also in the UK. So since the frame itself is not a machine, it works anywhere in the world, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. There's no plug on there's absolutely no plug-in for the frame itself. So if you're in the UK or you're going to the UK and you're worried about the dual current items, you know, to be able to run in Europe, this doesn't matter. So if your machine can do it, the Cutie can do it, right? So the carriage simply moves the machine very smoothly, and you saw how fast and easy it was to get that machine set back up. And this one has been pin basted, so I am going to take out these pins because if I'm the next one to do it, I'm going to run over them, and that's going to be sad. So I am going to take these pins right out of there. I got one left. So for me, I would use the spray based. Or not spray based, I'm sorry, the free fuse. I don't use spray based anymore. I use the free fuse because it just is a little granule you sprinkle on the batting, then put your fabric down and iron it, and it stays, all the layers stay together. So that is the Cutie. Are there any other questions?
Does the handle base come with it?
Yes. Everything that was part of the frame comes with it. The fabric doesn't come with it, and the machine does not come with it. But the handle comes with it, and if you choose to add stitch regulation, if you have a machine other than the Bernina that has a stitch regulation, like maybe you have a FOF, a Brother, or a Baby Lock, then you can have stitch regulation added onto this, so it will work in chorus with your Cutie frame and your machine. So that's really cool. So okay, so we hope you enjoy this. This is just, you know, we've absolutely been loving the Cutie, and so many people have been ordering it and picking one up because it just really fills a need that we have to be able to complete our projects. I don't know about you, but when I have a quilt that I'm working on, I really have a vision from start to finish what I want that to look like. And it's hard to give that over to someone else who does long arming because they may do it completely different or not how you feel is appropriate for your work. So this is just a really good way for you to be able to piece your quilts and then quilt them yourself. Any more questions?
Yeah, can you use templates to quilt with this?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of different ways depending on what you're talking about for templates. If you're talking about a pantograph, you can lay that on your table back there, but you can also use your rulers. So for that, I would put the little tray that slides on. So you take the tray off so you have a free arm, then you slide it back on. It usually has your accessories. I'd leave that on the machine. So that way you have a platform here, and you can do ruler work like the Westerly rulers and do all the fun shapes, the spin effects, all those certain things. You can do that as well. And then with that, for me, I'm looking for a koala chair. I don't see one, but I would just get a chair, and for me, I would be sitting to do my ruler work. Okay?
Sherry wants to know, she has a Brother machine that doesn't have a stitch regulator, so would she need to order that part separate?
Good question. Yeah, your Brother machine does not have a stitch regulator. That is correct. Most machines don't have one, but the Cutie has the capability to add stitch regulation to so many different machines. So when you order your Cutie, talk to the people in the store. If you come in, or if you're talking to our folks on our online team, let them know what machine you have and that you're interested in adding a stitch regulator to the Cutie, and they will help you get the right one so it will work with your machine. Then, when you set up your Cutie, it will actually be attached here near your handlebar so you can adjust your stitch length and turn it on, because it will plug in. The Cutie doesn't have any power, but the stitch regulator would. And so that will be attached more up near here. Okay? So yeah, let our team help you find the right stitch regulator for your machine and to work with the Cutie. Okay, and just so you know, that stitch regulator then will not work without the Cutie. It is in harmony with the Cutie. So it's not like you can take it off the Cutie and then have a stitch regulation. Hope that makes sense. Okay. All right, so I hope that helps you all, and it's really an awesome accessory for your machine to not have to buy a whole nother machine to be able to do your quilts. So we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.